Here is an interesting story. This story must have occurred 50, 60 years ago. There was a French Jew, His name is Michael Weiss. That was his name, French Jew. And he was involved in French politics. This must have been in the 60s, maybe 70s. He was involved in French politics. He was a real wheeler and dealer. Nice looking fellow, dressed very well. Anyway, one day he was in Manhattan. He was in Manhattan for some sort of a business thing, whatever. So the Chabad boys over there, they have what's called the tefillin booths and tefillin tanks. And they park somewhere in Manhattan and they blast music, Hasidic music. And they go asking people, excuse me, sir, are you Jewish? Are you Jewish? Are you Jewish? And so one of the people that they stopped was this fellow, Michael Weiss, Michelle, whatever his name was, anyway. And they said, excuse me, are you Jewish? She says, yes, I am Jewish. Says, come put on tefillin. What is this? So he says, put on tefillin, tefillin is Jewish, but now the French Jews are very assimilated, right? And it just happened to be this Michael Weiss or Michelle Weiss. It happened to be that he had not married, he married a Jewish woman. It was a big, miracle. But except for that, he was totally not, he knew he was Jewish, but it's, totally meaningless to him. So he said, no, I don't want to put on tefillin, thank you. But the boy got into a conversation, and this fellow, because he was a politician, and there's a good side to politicians, namely that they care about people. They can listen good. Like politicians, they listen, they play it, that they listen, but deep down, they really do care about people. Okay. So he's talking to this, but the boy asks him, why are you here? What is this? He says, I'm here, politics, I have a politics. So the boy makes something up. He says, oh, you want to meet all the politicians? He said, yes. He said, you have to go to the Lubavitcher Rebbe on Sunday. He gives out dollars. So this must have been later. When the Rebbe was giving out dollars, this was like in the 80s, the Rebbe was giving out. And so he says, the Rebbe is giving out dollars. And then all the politicians are there. So he said, really? He said, okay, very interesting. He said, listen, I'll call you up. I'll call you up on Sunday. I'll call you up. I'll give you a good place on the line. And so he said, okay, gives him his address. On Sunday, he's not doing anything anyway. So he gives him his address. And sure enough, the boy calls him up. And he even comes over. He says, I'm waiting downstairs. I'll be downstairs outside of your hotel in 15 minutes. I'm coming in a cab, picking you up. So he figures, okay, well, what's he got? He really didn't want to go, but he. So he brings him over to 7-7. There's this huge line of men and a huge line of women, like thousands of women in one line and thousands of men in another. And the way they did it was the men went first, and then they stopped and the women. So he went in front of the Rebbe, and the Rebbe said to him, he got in front of the Rebbe, and the Rebbe said, what is your mother's name? Oh, he wanted to give him a blessing. I'll give you a blessing. What is your mother's name? So he didn't know. And so he said, you don't know what your mother's Hebrew name is? He says, no, my mother's name is Marie or something like this. No, your mother's Jewish name. So he said, I don't know. So the Rebbe said, we'll find out and come back. And so he left. Meanwhile, the boy that brought him there, he left, and he forgot totally about where are the politicians, where are the politicians. So this Michael Weiss, just 1 second, 1 minute. Let me pause this. Okay, good. So Michelle, his name is Michelle. So he's standing in front of the Rebbe, and the Rebbe said, what is your Hebrew name and what's your mother's name? So he said, I don't know. But meanwhile, he's standing in front of the Rebbe, and something happened to him. He sees this man. It's not like any other man he's ever seen before in his life. There's some sort of something totally different is motivating this person, the Rebbe. And so he says, I don't know. So the Rebbe says, well, ask your mother, what's your Hebrew name? So and come back next week. So he said, okay. So he left. Meanwhile, he forgot totally about politicians, and the boy that brought him there also forgot. And so when he went back home to France, this Michel guy, he didn't think about going to the. No. I'm sorry. He called his mother. I'm sorry. He called his mother up, and he said to his mother, "Mother, what is your Hebrew name?" And she said, "What are Hebrew name? And what is my Hebrew name?" And she said, "Tell me, are you sick or something? Is there something wrong with it?" He said, No. I was by the Lubavitcher Rebbe, made a very big impression on me. I want to know. So he said, "Well, your Hebrew name is Menachem Mendel. It's the same as the Rebbe's name." So the next Sunday, he went back to the Rebbe, this Michel guy, and he went back to the Rebbe, and he said, "My name is Menachem Mendel." And so the Rebbe said to him, "Menachem Mendel ben Dvorah, whatever it is, he should be a good Jew. Should be a good Jew." He says, "That's it." He heard this from the Rebbe, he left, and he decided he was going to change his life totally. He was going to be a big, good Jew. So we went back to France. There was a Chabad house over there, was Rabbi Dreyfus. So he went back to France, and he changed totally. He started putting on tefillin, and he kept Shabbat and everything. But his big problem, he had one big problem, and his big problem was food. In France, they have all this good cuisine, right? Food. And the finest shrimps and rabbit and whatever it is. French, French cuisine is like the best in the world, and he can't hold himself back. So one day he had a big business appointment or a political appointment with a big politician. So, he didn't hide the fact that he was a Jew, even though in France it wasn't such a popular thing to be Jewish, like it is now. Same thing as now. So it wasn't. But nevertheless, he didn't disguise the fact that he was a Jew. But his kippah, he wouldn't always wear a yarmulke outside. So they went to the restaurant, and he was with this other politician, whatever, that he was trying to make an impression on. And they ordered food. It was a very good restaurant. And they ordered food, and he ordered shrimps and the hors d'oeuvres, which were knows what, all these the oysters, whatever it is, things that he really liked to eat. And before they brought the food, they bring like appetizers, little appetizers. And he ordered wine also, not Jewish wine. So the man that's sitting with him, he says to him, "Tell me, you're Jewish, aren't you?" And Michel Weiss says, "Yes, I am." He said, "Listen, I saw something in the newspaper that I really don't understand, but it really impressed me." He says, "Here, look, the French newspaper says here's this a letter from this man, and it's a big picture of the Lubavitcher Rebbe with a Rebbe's message for the week or whatever." So here he sees the picture of the Rebbe in front of him. So here's all this good food is to his left, and the pictures of the Rebbe is to the right. So all of a sudden he realizes, I can't eat this food. I can't eat the food. So it reminded him that a Jew has to be a Jew in everything that he does, even the things that he really likes to do that are not Jewish, but he has to force himself. And that's exactly what we've been learning up to now. That's what's called Mesirut Nefesh, giving away your will for the sake of your creator. My God is creating us. And the Rebbe is there to remind us of this. And that's the story of Michel Weiss and how he became not a religious Jew, a active Jew, expressive Jew, dynamic Jew. And it was all because of the Lubavitcher Rebbe. And that's what the Rebbe is doing all over the whole world. And that's the idea of the red cow doing away with death and fixing up the whole world that it'll be alive. And the Beis Hamikdash, all the Jews will come back to Israel, the Beis Hamikdash, the Holy Temple. And before that, the Mashiach will prepare the 10th red cow and purify all of the Jewish people and eventually the whole world. And the world doesn't need the red cow, but and to serve God with one group. See you all tomorrow, 8:15. Have a good day with Mashiach now. Thank you for coming.